Ashley here. I make videos about God goals and grad school, and today we're going to talk about research. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a disclaimer because I had these big dreams of creating all of these informational videos about how to do research because I was just going to figure it out and just share it with the world. And I learned I'm in the process of figuring it out, but it's not that simple. And so it's just real talk. That's just where I'm at right now in my journey. And I was reminded by the words of Gary Vee. I don't know if you've heard of Crushing It. I do recommend it. Even if you're not into entrepreneurship, it really just kind of pushes you to kind of do something that you've been thinking about. So anyway, Gary Vee is all about, don't show up when you're perfect on your platform. Show up and let people into the journey. And so I'm trying to take Gary Vee's advice and share what I've learned along the way. And the reason why this is a disclaimer is because I'm sure in 3 months, 3 years from now, I might look back at some of these videos and say, I have a better way now. And I actually hope that happens because that means that I'm growing. And that's all I really hope for you too, is to continue to grow, continue to learn, and build on, wherever you are right now. So with that, I just ask my future viewers a couple years down the road for grace, because you are talking to second year PhD school Ashley, and third, fourth, fifth year PhD Ashley might have some refinements to this video. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I have also been reading this book called The E-Myth Revisited. It was recommended by one of my favorite YouTubers, Ali Abdul, and he swears by this book. He's talked about it several times in his videos about being a YouTuber and being, a small business owner and things like that. And I am, as Marie Forleo would say, a multi-passionate individual. And not only do I have this business, but I also am learning how to be a scholar. And I wanted to kind of see if there's a way for this world, these two worlds that I navigate, to reciprocate and try to find some way to make this life cohesive. In a sense, I already do see it as cohesive, but I'm embracing this title of knowledge entrepreneur, and I have to create the knowledge and I have to share the knowledge. And so when I think about that, I think about this as a more holistic business in a sense. So I was listening to The E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber, and I was tracking with a lot of what he said. And it wasn't until a couple chapters in he introduced this concept that there are three people in us: the entrepreneur, the technician, and the manager. And the whole premise of what he is suggesting in his book is that in order to really run a successful small business, you have to find the balance between the three. And so what I'll do is I will introduce you to the three people. I will talk to you about how the three people show up in my life, and then I will talk to you about some of the things I think I'm going to try to kind of get that balance that Michael E. Gerber was talking about. So if this is interesting to you, keep on watching. If not, I've got other videos up here, and I will catch you on the next wave. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the entrepreneur now. The entrepreneur is the visionary, the one who innovates, the one who has the ideas and is not afraid to think about them, probably a lot, probably get lost in them, and probably has more ideas than the entrepreneur can actually execute. That is definitely, there's a time and a place for the entrepreneur. We need the entrepreneur in order for these businesses to really thrive. There are also some shortcomings. I mean, you can't just think about ideas all of the time. So we'll get more into that after I introduce you to the other two people. The second person is the manager. The manager is the one who knows how to create structure out of chaos. The manager likes order. The manager likes to make sure that things are running as it should be. What I was getting from what Michael was talking about, though, is that the manager needs some direction. I mean, the manager is there to create order and needs to have things to actually create order from. Now, the third person is the technician. The technician is the doer. The technician knows the work. The technician knows how to get things done, and that's all they want to do. They just want to work on things. They don't care about the extra things, the books, the business, the extra ancillary functions of the business. The technician just wants to do what the technician does. And that is, it's great to have that skill and everything. But Michael's whole premise is that our small businesses should be able to run without us. And oftentimes technicians start businesses because they're just tired of working for the boss. And so the technicians think, yeah, I'm just going to start my own business. I'm going to just do this for myself. And what Michael suggests is that if you're operating in that, when you're not balanced between the entrepreneur, manager, and you're just letting the technician just run the show, then you don't own a business, you own a job. And that is a fundamental mindset shift that you want to consider, both in business and in, whatever ventures that you're getting into. So when I heard it, I started to kind of think about myself and think about my mix. And if I'm really honest with myself, I'm probably about 65% entrepreneur, maybe 20% manager, and 15% technician. That is just a back of the napkin, very rough estimate. The point is, I lean heavy on the ideas, and I'm always inspired by things, and I like to try new things, but you actually have to get them done. You have to execute them. And oftentimes when I get in these big idea modes, especially in my research, I just want to look at the big picture. That's what I care about. I care about the big picture and what I want this research to accomplish. What I'm starting to learn very quickly is that in these circles, the result or the destination doesn't matter as much as that process, the journey. And that is a big shift from someone who comes from the MBA business landscape, where it's all about the returns, the results, the metrics. No one cares about, well, some people care, but very few people care about how you got to the certain level of profitability. They just want to know the profitability, and then they want you to estimate if you could do it again next quarter. And that is not the mindset of an academic, and that's okay. I think that one thing that I'm trying to make sure that I keep in mind is that there are definitely some things that I need to adjust. And there are definitely some things that I can bring from my realm that I'm more familiar with into my practice as a scholar. So I don't know the perfect mix of those things yet, but I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm going to just turn into this academic robot who does things the way everyone does things. I do imagine that there will be some kind of flair in there based off of what I've learned in my experiences. So I've put that there. Now you know. That said, even in business, you can't just be all entrepreneur. And I know this. I've experienced that, the downsides of just having ideas. So going back to research, because I have strong ideas and imaginations for what I want my research to achieve. Those are good things. I need help executing them. And what I've learned is sometimes I kind of just dive in, like the entrepreneur dives in, and really I need a manager. I need a manager that says, okay, Ashley, this is great. I like where you're going with this. Where do we need to start first? And I'm very thankful for my advisor on this because she knows how to do everything. But sometimes I need to be pulled back, and I need to be able to go to step 1 because the entrepreneur in me is at step 77, and I need to get to step 1. So that is a practice that I really just started yesterday because I'm starting to think about the entrepreneur, manager, and technician. I'm starting to think, okay, now that I have this big idea and what I want to do next, what is the micro step that I need to start first, second, and third? And I write it on a Post-it, I put it on my computer, and then I just start there. And taking those moments to just let the manager come out and let the manager do what the manager does best is perfect, because then you need the technician to come and do it. And that is this sequence that I'm really starting to deploy because it really helps. Because oftentimes in the past, what I've done is, okay, the entrepreneur says, this is what I want to do. And then I just tell the technician in me, just say, okay, let's go. So I'm going to databases and I'm going on Google Scholar and I'm looking at all those things and I get distracted. Really, I think it's the entrepreneur who gets distracted. So the technician's really trying to like work and try to make sense of this big idea. And then there's some other construct that's introduced in something that the technician is reading, and the entrepreneur is like, ooh, that's a good idea. Let me add that construct in there. And then so the technician has to go off into this rabbit hole trying to figure out what this construct is. And it's just a little bit of chaos. I mean, that's just how I've experienced my research journey so far. So now what I'm trying to do is insert the manager into this equation. I'm trying to make sure that the manager structures what's going on, and then the technician goes and does it. And when the entrepreneur sees something that catches her eye, the manager says, okay, that's great. We will write it off to the side and we will focus on what we're doing first, and that will create a process for us to go explore that other construct. So to summarize how I'm planning on finding the balance between the entrepreneur, manager, and technician in my research and subsequent business is that I'm going to need the entrepreneur to share some airtime because what the entrepreneur does is so important. This doesn't work without the entrepreneur, because otherwise the manager has nothing to structure. The technician is not really able to do anything more than what they did when they worked for somebody. So there's definitely a role for all three of these entities. I just need the entrepreneur to know when to pass the ball to the manager to really set things up for us to actually get to where we want to go. It's cool that you see step 77, Ashley. It is cool. Take a step back now, or 76 of them rather, so that we can pass the ball to the manager to chart that path there. My last video on the best goal setting method that I've ever learned really takes this into account. So it's not like I haven't done this before. And if you haven't seen that video, click up here so you can get that. It's quite emotional, but it's very special to me. The thing is, I am now working on operationalizing this in the way that it's going to be the way I do my work. Oftentimes when we're learning things, sometimes we learn things that we already knew, but we just didn't practice them in a way that showed that we knew them. So now I'm working on practicing them in a way that shows I know these things. So yes, entrepreneur needs to pass that ball. And I need to start working out my technician muscle. And I think that coursework helps with that. Also, really having the groundwork laid by the manager is going to help the technician know what to do, because the technician is more tactical. And that's not a bad thing. It's critical work. That's the only way the work gets done, is if the tactical work gets done. We want to make sure that we use the manager's strategy in order to be able to execute tactically. So entrepreneur needs to pass the ball to the manager. The manager needs to give us a sense of direction of where we need to go, and then pass the ball to the technician, who can really read what our commander's intent is from the entrepreneur, who knows what the bounds and the structure is from the manager, and who can do what the technician can come in and really execute and do what the technician does best. So I am really excited to practice that. I'm not going to get it perfect every single time. Sometimes I get bored. And I think that that's when I need to stop and say, okay, Ashley, am I bored right now because I'm in entrepreneur mode and it's not getting me to where I need to go quickly enough? Am I bored because I feel like I'm not going anywhere? I have no sense of direction. Do I need the manager to step in and create that structure so that I know what my roadmap looks like? Or am I bored because I really just don't know what I'm doing? Do I need resources for the technician in order to upskill and get the skills that the technician needs in order to execute that vision, strategy, and move us forward? So I invite you to do the same. I'm really excited to really perfect this way of thinking. I actually started working on this, and it's much better than my former approach. I mean, I haven't cracked everything perfectly, but I really wanted to share this concept with you because I want you to try it with me. If you are working and getting a hang of research, hey, let's learn together. Let's share tips. I mean, this is the Brilliant AF community, and I want you to join. Subscribe, talk to me in the comments. I am very, very interested in making sure that we keep this community alive and vibrant. And it's not just for people who are interested in the GRE or faith. It's for people who are here to accomplish something. And I think that it's going to be really great if we can do it together, because it can be a very isolating experience. And especially if you're starting the academic journey a little bit later in life, it's a big culture shock. You go from one domain where you're actually hitting your stride and you're building yourself and your career, and then you switch and then you start all the way at the bottom and you're just trying to get an understanding of which way is up. And that is, it can be demoralizing. I'm going to be real. Sometimes it's like, dude, I'm a pretty good consultant. And I have to remind myself, and maybe you can help remind me as well, that this is a journey and it's for long-term gain. When I think about that life that I really want and the kind of autonomy that I want in my life and career, I really do think that this PhD is a key to that life. So I have to keep that in mind, even though sometimes I'm like, but I had a perfectly good path going on, Michigan Ross set me up very well. So that said, I'm really excited about this process that I'm learning. I'm really trying to identify who's showing up when I'm working on my research, and it's helped me be a lot more conscious about what works. So I'm going to give you an update on how that looks in some future videos. If you have any other questions or are interested in any other topics for me to cover, let me know in the comments below. I really love being able to create this content for you and share with you on this journey that, life is putting me on. So with that, I am so thankful for those of you who got to this point in the video. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for liking this video, sharing this video, and I can't wait to talk to you next time. Stay brilliant.